the experiment that proved time isn't what we feel. Time feels constant, steady, unquestioned, 1 second after another, marching forward without exception. But what if that feeling has been misleading us all along? To understand why this matters today, we need to revisit a simple assumption: that time is something we experience directly, that our sense of past, present, and future reflects an objective flow. For centuries, this belief shaped science, philosophy, and daily life. Time was a stage on which reality unfolded, not something shaped by the observer. Modern life still depends on that idea. Schedules, deadlines, aging progress. We trust time because it feels reliable. The clock moves forward. Memory moves backward. The present feels razor thin. It seems obvious. Yet scientists began noticing cracks in the certainty. Not in philosophy, but in experiments. Precise measurements revealed inconsistencies between clocks, motion, and perception. Time slowed under speed. It stretched near gravity. Physics accepted these results, but treated them as technical details, mathematical corrections, nothing that touched human experience. Then came an experiment designed to test something far more unsettling. Not how clocks behave, but how time itself is registered by the mind and the body. The setup was deceptively simple. Participants were placed in carefully controlled environments. No windows, no devices, no external markers. Light, temperature, and sound were regulated. The goal was isolation from every familiar signal of time passing. At first, nothing unusual happened. People estimated minutes accurately. Hours felt like hours. The internal clock appeared stable. Researchers expected minor distortions, nothing more. But as days passed, the estimates began to drift. Participants lost track of duration. Short intervals stretched endlessly. Long periods collapsed into moments. Sleep cycles decoupled from the clock. Some believed hours had passed when only minutes had. Others felt entire days vanished without memory. This was the first reveal. Time, as experience, was not anchored to seconds or minutes. It was constructed, maintained, actively assembled by the brain, using cues it rarely noticed. And once those cues were removed, the structure of time began to dissolve. What seemed like a curiosity quickly became something more troubling, because the distortions were not random. They followed patterns. Patterns that suggested time was not something we sensed, but something we built. As the experiment continued, researchers began mapping the distortions, not just when they happened, but how. Participants did not lose time evenly. Certain moments expanded dramatically, while others compressed without warning. Emotional states altered duration. Boredom stretched minutes into hours. Engagement collapsed hours into flashes. This suggested something profound. The brain was not measuring time. It was inferring it. Instead of tracking seconds directly, the mind appeared to estimate duration based on change. Novelty, attention, memory density. When many events occurred, time felt long in retrospect. When few events registered, time disappeared. The clock inside the mind was not a clock at all. It was a narrative device. This reframed earlier findings in neuroscience. Memory formation, not sensation, anchored time. The present moment was constantly being reconstructed from predictions and updates. The brain did not wait for time to pass. It assumed time was passing, then corrected itself when surprised. The experiment introduced a second phase. Participants were given subtle, artificial cues. Slight changes in sound frequency, minimal shifts in lighting, barely perceptible patterns. Nothing that resembled a clock. Yet these cues dramatically restored time accuracy. Even without awareness, the brain locked onto structure. This was the second reveal. Time perception was not passive. It was opportunistic. The mind seized any regularity it could find and built duration around it. Remove structure and time unraveled. Introduce even false structure and time reassembled itself. Then came the deeper implication. If time depends on perceived change, then environments rich in stimulation should feel fast. Environments with repetition should feel slow. And modern life, saturated with novelty, should collapse time inward. The data confirmed it. Participants exposed to rapid, varied stimuli consistently underestimated duration. Days felt short. Weeks vanished. In contrast, participants in static environments experienced elongated time, even distress. Time did not flow differently. Experience did. This raised a disturbing question. If our sense of time is constructed from attention and memory, then what happens in a world engineered to constantly fragment both? The experiment was no longer about isolation. It was about modern life, and the conflict was just beginning. The conflict emerged when researchers compared these findings to everyday behavior. The same distortions seen in isolation chambers were appearing in ordinary environments. People reported weeks disappearing, years accelerating, childhood feeling endless, adulthood collapsing into blur. This was not coincidence. The brain's method for constructing time had collided with a world optimized for stimulation, constant alerts, endless feeds, rapid context switching, each moment packed with novelty, but stripped of depth. The mind registered activity, not meaning. As a result, memory density collapsed. When experiences lacked distinct markers, they failed to anchor time. Days filled with repetition and distraction produced few memories. In retrospect, they felt short, not because little happened, but because little was remembered. This created a paradox. Life felt busy in the moment, yet empty in hindsight. Time felt fast, but unfulfilled. The brain had learned to skim reality instead of inhabiting it. Researchers observed this effect intensify under stress. Anxiety narrowed attention. Predictability vanished. The mind entered survival mode, prioritizing immediate signals over narrative continuity. Time fragmented further. The present stretched painfully while the past evaporated. This explained a long-standing mystery. Why traumatic moments feel endless while years afterward disappear. Why waiting feels unbearable, yet memory of it vanishes. Time, it seemed, was not flowing at a constant rate. It was being shaped by cognitive state. The emotional peak approach when scientists modeled these findings mathematically. The same equations used to describe predictive processing and decision-making applied to time perception. The brain minimized surprise. It compressed predictable intervals. It expanded uncertainty. Time was not a dimension we moved through. It was a byproduct of how the brain managed information. That realization cut deep, because it meant time could be altered without touching physics, without machines, without drugs. All it took was changing how attention and memory were structured. And modern systems were already doing exactly that. The experiment had uncovered something uncomfortable. We were not losing time. We were unbuilding it. The climax arrived with a simple, unsettling conclusion. Time is not something the brain measures. It is something the brain negotiates. The experiment proved that our sense of duration emerges from attention, memory, and change. When experience is rich and structured, time expands. When experience is fragmented and repetitive, time collapses. The clock on the wall never changes. The clock in the mind never stops changing. This reframed a fundamental assumption. Time does not speed up as we age because physics changes. It speeds up because experience does. Fewer moments stand out. Fewer memories anchor the past. The brain compresses what it cannot distinguish. The resolution was not hopeless. It was clarifying. If time is constructed, then it can be reshaped, not by slowing the world, but by deepening experience, by creating moments that resist compression, by restoring attention long enough for memory to form. This matters now because modern systems compete for attention, not meaning. They fragment focus into pieces too small to remember. The result is a life that feels fast but thin, full but fleeting. The experiment did not reveal a flaw in the brain. It revealed a mismatch between how the brain builds time and how the world now delivers experience. Time is not slipping away unnoticed. It is being quietly traded for stimulation. And once that trade becomes habitual, the years do not vanish suddenly. They fade smoothly without resistance. Understanding this changes the question from how do we save time to how do we create it? Because time, as it turns out, is not something we're running out of. It's something we're constantly constructing, whether we realize it or not. The